There is a moment in life when you realize what you have been doing is not working anymore. You try different diets, you follow advice, you stay consistent for a while, but something still feels off. The weight stops moving, energy goes up and down, and slowly frustration starts to build. This is the point where most people either give up or they start looking deeper. Not for another quick fix, but for understanding. Because the truth is, your body is not broken. It is adapting. And if you don't understand how it adapts, you will keep repeating the same cycle again and again. A few years ago, I started paying close attention to this pattern, not just in theory, but in real life. I noticed that people would start a new way of eating, feel amazing in the beginning, and then suddenly everything would slow down. Progress would stall, motivation would drop, and confusion would take over. At first, it looks like failure, but it is not failure. It is adaptation. And once you understand this, everything starts to make sense. One of the most popular approaches people turn to is a low-carb or ketogenic style of eating. In the beginning, the results can feel almost unbelievable. Energy improves, hunger drops, mental clarity increases. For the first time in a long time, it feels like your body is finally working with you. But then something happens. After a few weeks, or sometimes a few months, that same progress begins to slow down. The scale stops moving, energy becomes inconsistent, and the question appears, what changed? This is where most people make critical mistakes. Not because they are careless, but because they were never taught what comes next. Let's walk through the most common mistakes that quietly hold people back. The first mistake is staying in the early success phase for too long. When you first change your eating style, your body experiences a shift. It starts using a different type of fuel. It begins to rely less on quick sugars and more on stored energy. This transition can feel powerful. You feel full, you feel satisfied, and naturally, you start trusting the process. But here's the problem. What works in the beginning is not always what works long-term. Many people continue eating the same way without adjusting anything. They stay comfortable. They stay in the phase that once gave them results. But the body is not static. It adapts. And when it adapts, it requires a new level of stimulus. Without that, progress slows down. The second mistake is turning a structured approach into an excuse for overconsumption. Even when food choices improve, quantity still matters. It is easy to believe that certain foods can be eaten without limits, especially when they keep you full and do not cause immediate spikes in energy. But your body still responds to total intake. Energy that is not used will still be stored. This does not mean you need to restrict aggressively. It simply means awareness is important. Eating with intention is very different from eating without limits. The third mistake is trying to recreate old habits in a new system. This is one of the most common patterns. People leave behind one style of eating, but try to rebuild the same comfort behaviors in a different form. Sweet cravings are replaced with alternative versions. Old routines are copied with new ingredients. On the surface, it looks like progress. But underneath, the pattern is the same. The focus is still on food as a source of comfort, and that makes long-term change difficult. Real progress often requires a shift beyond food itself. It involves building new habits, new ways to relax, new ways to unwind, new ways to feel satisfied without relying on constant consumption. This is where many people struggle, because it is not just physical, it is behavioral. The fourth mistake is ignoring feedback. Your body is constantly giving you signals, energy levels, hunger patterns, focus, sleep. These are all forms of feedback. But if you do not pay attention to them, you miss important information. Instead of adjusting based on results, many people continue blindly. They follow a plan without observing how their body responds. And over time, this disconnect creates confusion. Progress is not just about following rules. It is about understanding responses. Now let's talk about what actually works. Not in theory, but in practice. The first step is recognizing that progress happens in phases. The beginning phase is about change. Your body is adjusting. It is learning a new pattern. This phase often brings quick results, but it is temporary. The next phase is adaptation. Your body becomes more efficient. It uses energy better. It stabilizes. This is where progress can slow down, and this is where adjustments become important. Instead of repeating the same routine, you begin to refine it. You start paying attention to timing. You become more aware of how often you eat. You allow your body periods of rest between meals. Not extreme restriction, but intentional spacing. This helps your system reset. It gives your body time to process what it has already received. Another important factor is consistency, not perfection. Consistency. Small, repeated actions create long-term results. Extreme changes may work temporarily, but they are hard to maintain. Sustainable habits create stability, and stability leads to progress. There is also a mental shift that needs to happen. Instead of constantly searching for the next strategy, focus on mastering the basics. Simple actions done consistently are more powerful than complex plans that are not followed. And finally, patience. Real change takes time. Your body does not transform overnight. It responds gradually. But if you stay consistent, those small changes begin to add up. Energy improves, clarity increases, and your system becomes more balanced. This is how real progress feels. Not extreme, not overwhelming, but steady. Before we finish, there is something important to understand. There is no single method that works perfectly for everyone. Your body is unique. What works for one person may need adjustment for another. That is why awareness matters. That is why observation matters. And that is why learning is more powerful than blindly following. If you take one thing from this, let it be this. Your body is not the problem. The strategy just needs to evolve. And when it does, progress becomes possible again. If you want more simple, clear, and practical guidance that actually helps you understand your body, subscribe to Dr. Sean Dozbo. This channel is built to give you real knowledge you can use, without confusion, without extremes, and without false promises. Take your time, stay consistent, and keep moving forward.